Hello and welcome to Auto Spec Scootz. I'm Comp, and I've got today something from the company MEELOD that they sent out to me. It is, I think, the first that this is going to be on YouTube. It's the T16. It's kind of catered to younger people, but sounds like it even has some cool features like lights and little motorcycle sounds. We're going to be unboxing this today. Let's check out what's in here. They sent this out and said, hey Comp, we like what you're doing. Let's just give you the opportunity to showcase a new product that's coming out. So super stoked, super excited. Let's get into it. Not quite sure how this is going to go. It's about 100 pounds of a package. 97 pounds is what it measured in at. That it's a bit heavy, it's a bit big and awkward. We'll see. I think it might even be longer than the table once I get everything opened up. But let's cut these bandings. It's just me doing the unboxing today. But it was nice having everybody here for the cheap e-bike series that we bought a couple of cheap e-bikes and put them to the test. Going to be going through the same sort of tests with this unit. Super cool for a company to take a bit of a chance on a new channel that they recognize. They're like, hey, we've got some cool stuff. We've been around for a few years. We'd be willing to send you something. All right, well, we've got it laid down, banding cut. Let's open up the copper staples. Nice sturdy box. It survived the shipping. Went through and as far as the tracking goes, it lost its label a few times. It was delayed by a few days, but we're looking pretty cool in here. We've got a box of some sort. Oh, it's a long box. Another little box over here. What we got in this? Boxes in boxes. All right, looks like we've got a headlight assembly in this box. Set that down on the side. We've got a big old long seat, it looks like. Wow, that is a lot of seat. Supposedly kind of designed for two people, but that is plenty of seat. We'll get that set aside. It says the logo on the back, which is pretty cool. Big old hunk of foam. I think I'm going to slide the box back. It's a fat tire unit. Pretty cool. Big old e-bike here. Big old little e-bike. Well, would you look at that? It smells of fresh tire. What a nice smell. Let's take a look at what we got here. This feels like a box of different pedals and accessories and things. Start taking off sections of foam and revealing the MEELOD. Oh, really cool. Nice blue anodized. It's a steel frame, but that is some nice paint on there. All right, looks like a couple of cable ties. Gonna have to cut before getting into that. Let's take a look at what's in this accessory box. 1.928 kilograms is what it says on the box in handwriting. All right. We've got brake disc, an axle, tool bag, pedals, reflector, another box inside of a box inside of a box. It's like some metal brackets, plenty of zip ties, and a manual. I was able to scope this manual online before the unit got here, and overall, it seems pretty good that they included actual how to install the handlebar and how to install the front wheel, how to install the pedals. So compared to our cheap e-bikes, this is much better of a manual. It goes through actually a few assembly things. How to install and remove the battery, how to charge the battery, and then different functions about it. So seems like a quality manual. Got the T16 e-bike manual. Get all those set aside. See what's inside the box within the box. Within the box is the charger. Got 54.6 volts output, 2 amp, 109.2 watt, and can input both 100 to 240 volts, so 110 and 240, but we're the American standard of 110. Little warning on the plug: unplug when not in use. Do not use this charger to charge other models or devices. Let's get to cutting some zip ties. That's a very nice zip tie. I think I'm going to cut it on the side that I can reuse it. Big old zip tie. Another one here that broke in transit. Got a little section of LED strip, so it does have LED lights, and one little section was hanging down, which is acceptable. All right, got the logo in there on the battery, MEELOD Sport Bike T16. Get the handlebars uncut. Should sharpen my Leatherman. That's what I should do. All right, several connectors around. Nice rubber covering the handlebar mount. I don't think I'm going to be able to save this one. But definitely good foam to save. It's big old zip ties holding on the battery, and it looks like you've almost got this straw paper around them for insulation. Interesting. Insulated zip ties, never really saw that. Also, these are big old zip ties, so I'm gonna try to save them a little bit by using the scissor function. Nope, they're big boys. One cut. Two cut. interesting. I'm interested to almost check out the toolkit real quick. Sorry to look at something else, but a knife is definitely something that you would need to do these unboxings. Knife and a good pair of scissors, I would say. Take the foam off of the handlebars. Really well, it feels well made and nice. Really good feeling handlebar unit. It's got some laminated NFC smart cards for unlocking. We'll get these handlebars just laid up there. Just want to undo all of the bits of foam and get a look at it first. Another big zip tie on this side, holding the tire on, but I think the tire is actually helping us stabilize things. So yeah, it does better. And everything's falling down. Let's go around to this side. Get this bit of foam cut off. They did a great job at protecting most of the components all over. Looks like there's a fender buried in here for the front wheel. More zip ties around the fender. So in foam, and then in a plastic sheath for the fender. They did a great job packaging that. Get these foam bits taken off. Quite interesting how the zip ties around the battery were wrapped in, we're basically straw. Like you get a paper straw and you get this paper around things. That's very odd to me, but I mean, good for isolation. We've got what looks like some dry lube. Definitely lube chain. Looks like there's some graphite on it, which is pretty cool. I think curious about this center adjustment area. It looks and feels pretty much like it's there for decoration. Then on the other side, just a few foam bits that I'm going to take off. We'll get into kickstand shortly. We'll get into kickstand mode shortly once the front wheel is on. More big hunks of foam protecting things. Good to see that. Zip ties all over. Zips on zips on zips. Okay, well, that is just about all of the foam bits. It is looking pretty cool already. The manual doesn't necessarily state step by step, so kind of go in what order that they suggest. That it starts with installing the front fender, and then handlebar, then front wheel, then headlight, pedals, is the order that it is in the manual. Check in the little tool bag and see what tools they included. Four Allen wrenches of different sizes. Four open-ended wrenches. Two of them are the same, a 13 and a 15. And then you've got a 13 and a 16, and a 10 and an 8. And then some kind of tool with a weird bit at the end. So I think it'll be easier to maneuver around once the handlebars get put on. Let's see what it says about installing the handlebars. Arrange the transmission and brake cables, insert handlebar into riser, tighten the top cover screws, align the handlebar and tire at 90 degrees. Tighten the fixing screws on both sides. Torque 8 Newton meters. Going to undo these 4 screws. One of them seems like it's either super tight or cross-threaded. All right, gonna install the handlebars. A few of the screws feel a little iffy, especially this lower right one. I think that tapping was a little goofed up. All other 3 feel very good. All right, we've got the handlebars attached. Seems like 1 out of 4 may have been double tapped, mistapped, and then run in. That screw definitely looks like it, even before I started to retighten it, it seemed like it had a lot more of wear of somebody putting that in, but good hardware. It didn't snap. It was able to run in after working a little bit. Next, I'd say probably working on the tire. Looks like the speed controller and things like that are underneath here. The battery's there. We're gonna cut this big old cable tie holding on the tire and possibly, yeah, I'm gonna err on the side of not hurting my tire and not save that cable tie. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna stay up all that well without the tire balancing it on that side. So, got close down the knife quick. Tell that thing to not move. So yeah, these are the big old cable ties holding things on. And if I cut it on this side, it's a completely unusable zip tie. But if I cut it on this side, then I can remove this little end piece. Still, that's enough of a usable zip tie. So just be mindful what side you cut things on. Let's take a look at what the instructions say about installing the front wheel. And it says handlebar before front wheel, even though it says align the handlebar with the tire. Out of sequence a little bit. Line the front fork and the axle at the center of the wheel. Ensure that the axles on both sides are inserted into the fork. The disc inserted into the brake. Place the screws as shown in figure 2. Use a wrench and tighten the screws on both sides in turn. The torque to tighten the screws should more than 30 Newton meters. That's kind of a lame torque spec of more than a certain Newton meters. But what do you expect? We've got the disc. We've got the hardware in the disc package. Front fender is going to have to go on as well. This is going to be a bit precarious to do as one person. Let's quickly just check what these are. They are some sort of pegs. Pegs for something. Probably the... Is there pegs for the back wheels? That'd be awesome. Dude, that's why the seat's so long. It's got pegs for the back. Tires seem like they have a decent amount of air in them already, which is nice. How am I gonna do this? Let's actually lay things down. Get that nicely laid down off the table a little bit. I should be able to work the front tire into there. Shock surface seems like it, I mean, there's a little bit of paint lines, not lines, but at least it's interesting. We'll see how the shock longevity is with this unit. Actually, I don't have to cut these at all. Looks like they've got a spacer rod in here for shipping, which is nice. All right, I found my axle. It was hanging out right next to the charger. Let's get this disc mounted up to the wheel. Does it have a direction? It's Black Cat brand wheel. That's pretty cool, or brand tire. So we do have a rotation. We do have a rotation on the disc on one side. So that is going to face outward, which is nice. The writing's on the right side. So we'll get this mounted to the tire. What's nice of these screws have some encapsulated Loctite already on them, which is good to see for a brake disc. Get those all started. All right, got my brake disc mounted. I'm going to recheck all these after riding probably about 50 miles or so. Good practice when you put in a new disc to check it after a bit of riding, just to double check the torques. There's two different sizes of spacers on this, and the manual kind of tells you, but not all that much. It does have a decent amount of pictures of things, but there's things numbered as like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and not really any diagram as far as like what 1, 2, 3, and 4 are versus the other side. But I'm sure it'll make decent sense here in a second. Hang that off a little bit. Insert that up in there, and I would say that trying to figure out which side's the longer spacer. I'd say the shorter spacer goes on the brake disc side. We're going to take these pieces off, insert the wheel or the axle through the wheel this side, put those pieces back on, get that set in there. Spacer on the middle, or on the inside between the wheel and the fork, and the bracket on the outside. Alignment for the disc is pretty good with the smaller spacer on that side. This side's going to pull in the fork. They've got this bit and this bit on the outside of the axle right next to the nut. When it was shipped, it doesn't pull the axle or the forks in much, but it pulls them in a little bit. Almost like this one side could use a little bit more of a spacer. We'll see. Fork longevity. Looking at the instructions, definitely has that washer on the outside. But the other picture, it doesn't. So on one side, it's got the picture with the washer there, but this one does not have the washer. Just a little close-up on what the spacing issue that I'm looking at is. If I didn't have a washer here, like this side looks very good for the brake disc alignment. It's not rubbing at all. Seems like it's the correct spacer for this side. This thing has that bit that pokes up into there, and then it's got a washer before the nut. But over here, if there was nothing here, this would end up being pulled in and create a bit of stress on the forks. So I think I'm gonna use the washer. I'm gonna have this keyed bit. I'm gonna keep this bit on the outside, but I'm going to put this washer on the inside right here. Like that's just enough so that the forks are not being squished together at all. It seems the most appropriate to me. All right, I'm happy with that. We're not squishing together the forks at all. And everything's gonna be able to tighten up nicely. I took both nuts off and kind of eyed up where the center point was with the axle. It looks like it's the 15 side, 15 millimeter. I'm just gonna kind of do one side and the other and feel out the proper torque. It free spins pretty well. And now I think we are ready to put it up onto the kickstand. Oh, for a little tiny bike, it's a little heavy. All right, it sits on the ground quite nicely. We've got the front tire mounted, we've got the handlebars mounted. We need to do seat and pedals. This center section of looking like it's got extra gas reservoir for the suspension, that's just a plastic piece that's sitting there. Let's do the fender and the headlight. The fender seems pretty easy. It's got a couple of things on the side to undo that are already in place on both sides. And then one up top with a nut and bolt, and then just bolts in the side. This looks like where our 8 or 10 millimeter comes in. Yep, that's a little 10 millimeter. Looks like it comes in from the back. There's two side ones. You gotta kind of spread it a little bit. We'll get the two side ones mounted. And then get that top one up there. It is looking pretty cool. Hello, cat. Get that bolt put through there. Good to see there's Loctite on the bolt, encapsulated Loctite, and then also it's a nylock nut. Double lock. Okay, got the fender mounted. Got all three of these torqued down. Next, let's work on the headlight. Nice plastic covering that. Pretty cool headlight. There's a yellow connector waiting for it. And then they've got a couple of nuts and bolts going through this already, which seems like it would go through these holes here. Installing front fender, handlebar, front wheel, install headlight. Basically says tighten the screws on the bracket of the front light, 8 Newton meters, and connect the wire. That's all it gives you. Oh yeah, it definitely goes on the outside of these brackets. All right, so after connecting the bolts for the headlight, I undid the mounting bolts for the stem and kind of moved those upwards a little bit and let them relax and get into the place of this headlight mount, and then tighten those down. And that way that then gives it a bit of relaxation on the mounts that are attached to the forks once it gives the proper spacing and an alignment for the headlight. So we've got the fender, the headlight, the handlebars attached. Next, we're going to look into the seat and the pedals. It doesn't tell you exactly how to install the seat. Looks like there's 4 bolts that are already inserted into the seat. And probably they're like, no, that's pretty clear. We don't need to put that in the manual. So gonna undo these bolts and then put them through the open slots in the frame. 2 in the back, 2 right here. We're gonna line these up and then put in the bolts that I took out. I insert those in from the bottom side. Not the easiest to locate. We're just gonna start the threads on this one. There's a bit of a gap here that I've got to press the seat down. Get the thread started on that one. Oh, what a cool unit. It looks great. Hopefully it can perform. Fortunately, it's got a thumb throttle. Not the biggest fan of thumb throttle. Stem here says NECO, N-E-C-O. All right, that feels good. This thing is coming together. Besides pedals, I think that's about it. Pedals have a left and a right marked, and even on the pedal, it's got a sticker telling you which direction to tighten it, which is pretty cool. Very straightforward. So right-hand side is going to be normal threads. Bet that's the 16. Yep. Very nice that they included the proper amount of tools. And then on this side, left hand counterclockwise. There we go. The first thread was a little bit messed up. Took a little bit to get it seated, and the entire time I was definitely going the correct counter thread way. But get that thing tightened, and I think that's about it. Brakes feel good. It rolls. I'd call that a successful build. This thing is super cool, pretty well built. I'm excited to rip it around, put it through some testing and trials. It's got a switch that turns on the lights and sounds all in one switch. So hopefully you can figure out how to isolate those two, because the sounds are just wacky. It's fun, but they should be able to be turned on isolated from the lights. This is what the motorcycle sound switch is like. Lights come on, which is cool. Right, so as soon as you turn on the motor sounds, it then opens up as a Bluetooth device, and then you can play things from Bluetooth. Weird. So thank you so much for watching out of Spec Scootz. You have a great day.